Hey Larissa, I just wanted to send you another message back and send you some more encouragement from Father God, that we all get our wisdom and our courage and our strength. And I'm going to read to you the Bible, because the last day I was in the hospital, I read to this beautiful lady that was in the room with me. Kind of have to worry, not pay attention to my ugliness and my terrible and my I don't know what. Kind of having a rough day here, honey. Don't like it when I have a rough day. I always think that I should always be held above reproach, you know, and that wherever God sends me, I am happy to go. And I am. I'm looking for my glasses, sorry, here. These are my crooked ones because I slept on them last night. Terror is beginning to be very real in the videos these days. And I wanted to let you know something about Barbie. I miss her. I miss her like the warm sun. She was one of those that just always put a smile on my face and made me laugh. Sometimes it just made the whole world better, huh? Because she has a new life now with a man. And sometimes that makes people overlook what they've been attached to in the past. And sometimes they can't reach out when they really want to. And I'm sure, honey, if she could, she'd be reaching out to you right now, writing to you, but I don't think she can. And that also makes me very sad. Okay, I have just opened my Bible, and I'm just going to read to you what I just opened it to. Very impromptu this morning. Psalm 78. Listen, my people, to my teaching, and pay attention to what I have to say. I'm going to use wise sayings and explain mysteries from the past. Things we have heard and known, things that our fathers told us. We will not keep them from our children. We will not tell the next generation about the Lord's power and His great deeds and the wonderful things He has done. So sorry. I'm really sorry. He gave laws to the people of Israel and commandments to the descendants of Jacob. He instructed our ancestors to teach the laws to their children, so that the next generation might learn them, and in turn should tell their children. In this way they will also be put their trust in God, and not forget what He has done, but always obey His commandments. They will not be like their ancestors, a rebellious and a disobedient people, whose trust is in God was never firm, and who did not remain faithful to Him. The Ephraimites, armed with bows and arrows, ran away on the day of the battle. They did not keep the covenant with God. They refused to obey His law. They forget what they had done, the miracles they had seen him perform, while the ancestors watched God perform miracles. In the plain of the Zoan in the land of Egypt, he divided the sea and took them through it. He made the still waters. He made the waters stand like walls. By the day he led them with a cloud and gave them water from the depths. He caused a stream to come out of the rock. He made water flow like a river. Did you know that in the Old Testament times the rain did not fall from the sky? They say that it came from the ground up, not from the sky down. I think that's kind of cool. But they continued to sin against God, and in the desert they rebelled against the Most High. They deliberately put God to the test by demanding the food they wanted. They spoke against God and said, "Can God supply food in the desert?" These are people that got to see God. These are people that lived with him, walked with him. And it says that they continued to sin against God, and in the desert they rebelled against the Most High. They spoke against God and said, "Can God supply food in the desert?" It is true that he struck the rock and the water flowed out in a torrent. But can he also provide us with bread and give us his people meat? You know, we look at that like that's totally obscene and absurd, because we don't get to see that every day like they did. But they doubted it. They looked at it like, can he really do this? And so the Lord was angry. I don't blame him. I would have been angry too. You know, here he'd been, doing things for them, leading them, guiding them, showing them absolutely what to do, giving him his words. And so the Lord was angry when he heard them, and he attacked his people with fire. And the anger against them grew because they had no faith in him and did not believe that he would save them. But he spoke to the sky above and commanded its doors to open. He gave them grain from heaven by sending down manna for them to eat. So they ate the food of the angels. I wonder what angels used to eat. We thought about that before. Angels ate food? What was that, like cotton candy? Sorry, being a little facetious here. Sorry. He also caused the east wind to blow, and by his powers he stirred up the earth with the south wind, and to his people he sent down birds, as many as the grains of sand on the shore, and they fell in the middle of the camp, all around the tents. So the people ate and were satisfied. God gave them what they wanted, but they had not yet satisfied their cravings. They were still eating, and when God became angry with them and killed their strongest men, the best young men of Israel, in spite of all this, the people kept sinning and spit. In spite of his miracles, they did not trust him. I don't get that. You know, here he'd been giving them everything that they wanted. All the fruit, all the food, all the water, place to live, and yet they wanted more. think it's like us. Sometimes the more we get, the more we want. Especially when it comes to money. Some people say that money is the root of all evil. I don't think it's the money that's the root of all evil. It's our own selfishness that is the root. And that's what brings about the evil. Because doesn't it always seem like, oh, I need money for this and I need money for that. And honey, I've been there so many times. And then when we get the money, we think, we just had a little bit more. If I just had a little more money, I could do more. I could get more stuff. I could buy steak instead of hamburger. I could ride the bus instead of walk. Sometimes we become selfish. Sometimes I become selfish in what I want God to do for me. And what I want for Him to do for other people that I love and care about. But God always knows what's best. He always knows. He just always knows. That's all I got to say. Okay, let's see if we can finish this chapter here. Okay, so in spite of all this, the people kept sinning. In spite of His miracles, they did not trust Him. So He ended their days like a breath, and their lives was sudden disaster. Whenever He killed some of them, the rest would return to Him and would repent and pray earnestly to Him. They remembered that God was the protector, the Almighty, came to save their aid, but their words were lies. Nothing they said was sincere, and they were not loyal to Him, and they were not faithful to their covenant with Him. But God was merciful to His people. He forgave their sins and did not destroy Him. Many times He held back His anger and restrained His fury. He remembered that they were only mortal beings, like a wind that blows by and is gone. How often they rebelled against Him in the desert. How many times they made Him sad. How many times do we make each other sad by saying we're doing the wrong thing? We expect too much of people. We always think that everything's going to be the same, and sometimes it's not. We forgot His great power on the day when He saved them from their enemies and performed His mighty acts and miracles in the plains of Zoan and the land of Egypt. He turned the rivers into blood, and the Egyptians had no water to drink. He sent flies among them that tormented them, and frogs that ruined their land. He sent locusts to eat the crops. He killed the grapevines with hail and the fig trees with frost. He killed the cattle and hail and all their flocks with lightning. He caused them great distress by pouring out His anger with fierce rage, which came as messengers of death. He did not restrain His anger or spare their lives, but killed them with a plague. He killed the firstborn sons and the families of Egypt. Then He led His people out like a shepherd and guided them through the desert. Yeah, I totally lost my page here. wicked and guided them to the desert. He led them safely, and they were not afraid. With the sea king rolling over their enemies, he brought them to this holy land, to the mountain which he himself conquered. He drove out the inhabitants as his people advanced. He divided the land among the tribes of Israel and gave their homes to his people. But they rebelled against the Almighty God and put him to the test. And they did not obey his commandments. Jeez, what was wrong with these people? Become stubborn, just like we do. Okay, I'm going to stop right there because I'm running out of time. And I will try to send you a video as often as I can, Melissa, because I think that you really need to hear from somebody and not just some mishmash or whatever. A message says, hey, hi, how are you? Actually kind of gives me some peace too, reading the Word of God with other people. So, be blessed this day by God the Father. May His Spirit shine upon you always. May you always put your trust in Him, because it is only Him, through Him, that we can make it through each and every day. God bless you. T-Row, over and out.